So it's my pleasure to now introduce our next speaker, a person who needs very little introduction in most rooms in this state, but I'm going to give it to him anyway. So this is our Lieutenant Governor, Jon Husted. I've had the pleasure of knowing our Lieutenant Governor now for well over 2 decades, when he started his career in public service here in Columbus, and I was doing civic service in Cleveland. And what I've known ever since that time is that our Lieutenant Governor has always been focused on the future. He's a future-forward leader, which is a wonderful thing in a public servant, is someone who is not concerned or challenged by the future, but is seeking ways to accelerate our state towards it. He's passionate and he's excited by technology and innovation, and he encourages everyone around him to embrace it and leverage it to create a higher and brighter future for all Ohioans. And he's carried that passion and that sense of optimism and future-forward leadership through all of his positions in government that have led him from being the Speaker of the House to today our Lieutenant Governor. As Lieutenant Governor, Jon Husted leads the DeWine administration's initiatives on economic development, including the Innovate Ohio and the Governor's Office of Workforce Transformation. And he's been a strong and much appreciated partner for Ohio Excels at strengthening innovation and education and workforce development in our state, and a champion for growing Ohio. Please join me in welcoming our Lieutenant Governor, Jon Husted.
Good morning. Good morning. Happy, cheery. Beju, I've been to Swayzgelok. It's pretty amazing what happens there. Is what happens when I listen to Beju talk. Now I have like 100 more ideas of things I'd like to talk with you about today, but I won't do it. Let me just start by talking with you about what's happening in Ohio, because I think it's the thing that you need to do to understand the context for that future forward looking. Well, if you want to win, you got to be prepared for the future. And right now, Ohio is the heart of it all once again. It just is. Because as America has realized that you cannot rely on a foreign supply chain, particularly that involves people who are adversarial to your nation's interests, as the private sector has understood that it needs to have a domestic supply chain for the things that are essential for for people to live and thrive, for our economic and national security, Ohio is the place that it's happening, because we make it all. We are the supply chain for all of it, from the food you eat, to the cars you drive, to the trucks that deliver it, to the airplanes that fly, to the cloud that connects our devices, to the chips, to the steel, to the healthcare innovations. That's happening here. That's what we do. And that has changed a lot. I know for those of you who've been in education for a long time, there's always been the flavor of the day, right? It's like the thing that we're all doing. But to me, it's about helping that young person do what's next. And the what's next has changed a lot over 20 years. The economy today is doing fantastic for most people in Ohio. Can't say that for the whole country, but in Ohio, we have more jobs than we have people to fill them. Why is that? Well, yes, employers are hiring, but we also have a demographic problem. It's not just in Ohio, it's in the industrialized world, South Korea, or the most advanced economies, South Korea, Japan, even China. But we have demographic problems. There are more people between the ages of 55 and 64 than there are between 15 and 24. So what does that mean to businesses? Businesses have changed their approach to how this all works now. Because it used to be that they could be selective. They could just say, hey, we'll put an ad out there, we'll get 100 applications, and we'll select the 10 best. Because there were more people than jobs. When I graduated high school, I think the unemployment rate was around 8%. When I graduated college, it was around 9%. Now it's around 4%. And particularly if you have an in-demand technical skill, there's even fewer of those folks. So employers no longer can be selective. They have to be aggressive at going out and getting people, and that means they're willing to engage in ways that they previously wouldn't do. Which means that they're willing to hire high school students, that they're willing to engage more actively in job training, that they're willing to be great partners with your schools because they realize that, hey, if I don't engage, particularly depending on the sector that I'm in, early, I'm going to lose them to somebody else. And so the powerful economic forces that are driving the global economy, the American economy, are driving what's happening in the Ohio economy, the attitudes of employers, the attitudes of educators, and the opportunities for students. And so the question that we all need to ask ourselves is, how do we put this all together? How do we bring all those forces together? Well, there's no one right answer to that question. Collaboration is always super important. When educators know what businesses want, because businesses have engaged with educators, educators will do a better job. When educators have that information, they can engage with businesses, they can have their eyes opened to things that they maybe didn't know about before. And I try to explain it. It's like, how do you know what's happening in a business unless you go there and see it or talk to somebody who's doing it? How does a business know what's happening in a school unless they're engaged? You can't know. And bringing those forces together help us collaborate to solve the problem for the benefit of that very precious commodity of young talent, which creates an opportunity for them like they've never had before. Young people should be optimistic about the future. Maybe they'll be more optimistic 21 days from now when this is all over. I get it. But they should be, in general, optimistic about the future. Because they have leverage like they've never had before in the marketplace because there are fewer of them. And businesses are going to be willing to invest in them, to bring them along, to open doors of opportunity for them. And I say that about optimistic about the future because I want to try to explain, like, how do we explain this to young people? Like, if I want you to think about the hotel you're in. I want you to look around. Everything in here was somebody's job. Some company made this, from the lights to the carpet, even how these flowers got here, to this podium. And then we have tools like you can help a young person get on some AI tool and say, okay, well, how do I make a light bulb? What's the manufacturing process? What kind of skills do I need? Swagelok. Love that place because they literally are. They're dropping atoms on the faces of computer chips. I was at a grand opening for Sierra Nevada Corporation in the Dayton area the other day. They had a 747 behind us. Well, I can't really beat that for a backdrop. This is nice, but, 747 sitting behind you, pretty cool. And they were doing the ribbon cutting, or they were doing the ribbon cutting on their second hangar that holds the 747 while doing the groundbreaking for two more that hold them. Because they're going to build out the technology in these things to have them in the air to guard America against foreign adversaries to make sure that we have a missile defense system. But this is the interesting thing. Do you know that they don't make 747s really anymore? So what they're going to do with this plane is after they upgrade it, they're going to take it apart. A 1 million pound plane, take it apart, scan every piece in it, every part, and it will be in a database where they can do additive manufacturing to completely rebuild that plane if they need to. These are the things that are happening in the world. These are the things that you can capture young people's minds about. And if they're not captured by that, show them the photo or show them the video, I'm sure most of them have seen it, of the rocket booster that SpaceX sent up that just got caught by chopsticks, essentially. And this is what's happening in America. By the way, that's a great American story. Young immigrant from South Africa, Elon Musk, comes to a country and builds a space program. No other country in the world can you do that. You could contract with the government to do it, but nobody. Do you think China or Russia are going to allow an individual entrepreneur to own a space company? That's the kind of stuff that happens here. We can help capture their imaginations, and you can use new tools like AI to help them really understand it. Because why? Because AI is capable of explaining things that none of us, we don't have to have an expertise in something. If a student has curiosity, you send them to use some of these tools and they can figure out how to do anything and they can explain it to them. Show them how to do it. And that's what we have in this country, is that we have these tools and we have the freedom to be able to help young people explore these things. And that's the difference for us. And that's the difference that you can make in your own communities. If some of you come from a rural community, for example, that has challenges with some demographic issues, you want to know something? The best thing that you can do to keep your young people is get them a job before they graduate. Because you got them in your career center or your career high school, you're getting them connected with an employer, they start making money. I was at one career center the other day where 93% of the graduating class already had job offers. This was in a rural community. And the graduating class had earned $3.1 million. And I could tell from the nice pickup trucks that were out there in the parking lot, many of the students had decided to exercise some of their earnings towards that goal. And everybody has that opportunity. And as an administration, I know you're going to hear from the Chancellor and the Director of the Department of Education and Workforce. But as an administration and as a state, we have an amazing opportunity right now to grow our economy, because we have innovation hubs in Toledo on glass, and Akron on rubber, and Dayton on defense electronics coordination technologies and sensors. In Cincinnati, amazing things. You got the home of GE Aerospace there. World's #1 children's hospital, Cincinnati Children's. In Columbus, you got all of the amazing things that are happening here. The legacy companies, from everything from Nationwide to Cardinal to new companies like Intel. In Cleveland, in addition to the next World Series champion Cleveland Indians, you got Cleveland Clinic with the world's first quantum computer doing healthcare research, all the amazing things Swagelok, other companies have been talked about. I mean, these things are happening in our state. And businesses, we've had 60 companies move from the coast to Ohio over the last 5 years because they want to make a domestic supply chain, and that's what we do. I say it again, like, you can't do made in America without made in Ohio, because it's like every time I see something out there, I'm like, yeah, I know where that's made, because I've been in all these places. And it's so much fun. And that's why I love the teacher externship program, where teachers are going out and visiting the businesses in their area to understand what's happening there. These are great opportunities, because I'll tell you what, how do I know what I know? How do I learn all this? It's because I went there. I've been to these places. I've talked to the employers. I see what they do. I understand how it fits together. You can too. We have the tools, the tech tools at our fingertips to allow us to understand this is better than before, and you can help the students understand that, to give them that pathway. Because this is the two last points I want to make on this. But a lot of students we know don't understand how to get there. They either grew up in a family where they didn't have a lot of support, or maybe nobody in their family really understands what it is that they want to do. And if you understand it, you can guide them to that pathway. Because I tell this story a lot. I wanted to play college football. I had to go to college to do that. That's why I went to college, all right? So, but I didn't know what to do. I majored in education because the only college graduates that I knew growing up where I did, only people I ever met that had gone to college were my teachers. And that's what they did. So if kids don't know, you don't expose them to it, they're not going to see all the opportunities that are available. And we have to continue to do better at that. Because our children and grandchildren do not need to leave Ohio anymore to find an opportunity. They really don't. Because we have so many opportunities out there for them. But we have to connect them. We have to let them see that clear line of sight from where they are in life, wherever that is. And we know it can be a lot of places. Help them see it so that when they graduate high school, they're career ready, that there is a handoff. You don't have to solve all the problems in life. You just have to solve that one. That one that gets them from their diploma to an opportunity. And it's like climbing a mountain. You're helping them climb a little bit further, and then they're going to get there, and you're going to give them a warm handoff to an opportunity in life, and then they're going to be able to climb further. And that's how our system of education needs to work. And we're trying to do that by investing in career tech, $300 million in career tech to expand facilities, and the machinery and equipment and career tech enrollment is rising. But it can't just be at the career tech. It has to be in the high school. That's where we are next. Can't just keep building because we run out of space at the career tech. The things that you can do at your home high school, you should do them there. And then those high schools should partner with neighboring high schools to say, okay, maybe we can't do this program. You're going to do this one. Your students can come to us, and our students will come to you. And if we do that, we're just creating that clear line of sight. We're creating an opportunity. You're serving the businesses of your community. You're serving the success of your community, and you're serving those students. And that's where we need to go next. And then we need to keep driving the train on things like TechCred, where we give everybody in Ohio an opportunity. Every adult in Ohio right now has the opportunity to earn an in-demand tech credential, almost 3,000 available for free, partnering with their employer to earn a credential in these areas. You know what the fastest growing credential that we're awarding today? We've had over 100,000 Ohioans have the opportunity to use the TechCred program, lifelong career tech or in-demand credential processes available to them, and the number one fastest growing credential is AI. And it's so exciting because this is something that didn't exist a few years ago, and now it's an integral part of many people's job training in their lives. And we got to keep pushing these pathways because it never ends. If I ask, I'm not going to ask the question because I would say, how many of you are engaged in lifelong learning? And well, you all are. You got to be. I mean, every morning when I get up, I'm learning. Trying to read everything I can, understand how things are changing, what the nuances are, how do I get better at it? And that's how we succeed. So when Beju says we're focused on the future, we've got no other choice. It's the only way you win. It's the only way you win is by getting up every day and figuring out how to make yourself better, the entities that you're part of better, so you can win. And the beautiful thing about what all of you are doing is you're not just doing it for yourself. You have the precious gift of an opportunity to do this with young people. And when you do, they will be the people that one day will come up with healthcare innovations. They will be catching space rockets with chopsticks. They will be doing national defense. But also they will be doing the important things like making sure the lights come on, making sure the building is safe, making sure the food is good. It's how it all works. It's how a free market economy works. Nobody is in charge of designing it all. We all have a responsibility to help those children, those young people, see that pathway so that they can be part of that future. And it's exciting. And for Ohioans, this is my 57th year, and we've had some tough times. We had times when factories were closing, families were leaving, people were struggling. In every city, town in this state, because we weren't doing Made in America. But today we are. And Ohio is the heart of it all. And for it to remain the heart of it all, the most important ingredient to that will be, can we produce the talent that businesses need to succeed? And the beautiful thing about it is that everyone wins, because when you do, those students have their opportunity to live their version of the American dream, because they get to be excited about their futures and they can find that place. So thank you for what you do. Know that we are all in on career tech, on career training, focusing on making sure that everybody, no matter where they're stationed in life, can get a skill to participate in the economy, to improve the quality of their lives and the people they're responsible for and the lives they touch. Thank you very much for the opportunity to join you today. And Lisa, you're not a difficult person to work with. Beju just said it wasn't true, that you do great things. But let me just say thank you. We can make the policy. We can send the money. We can get better at doing all of that. We can design things that are pay for completion, not pay for participation, drive better results. But ultimately, you deliver it. You're the ones that deliver it. And it's so important, because every school year, you're changing the future trajectory of all of those students in our state, your community, and our nation. So thank you for your service. Take care.
I'm back. So I think it's super cool that we caught SpaceX with chopsticks, but I'm really looking forward to more kids going into healthcare as I get older. I'm looking at geriatrics, so if you have any kids that are thinking about that, you might want to steer them that direction. Join me in thanking the Lieutenant Governor. He is super busy, and so we really appreciate him being here today. So, and as Beju said earlier, we are so blessed at Ohio Excels to have such a great partnership with this administration, whether it is the governor, the lieutenant governor, the two gentlemen that I'm going to introduce in just a moment. None of the work that we do could be done without the partners that we have in the administration and all of you. So I am really privileged right now to introduce the Chancellor of the state of Ohio, but also a good friend. Mike Duffy was appointed the 11th Chancellor by Governor DeWine. Prior to being named Chancellor, Mike served as the Senior Vice Chancellor. But I met him years ago when he was in the Ohio House of Representatives and really became an expert on education, higher education in particular. He chaired the Higher Education and Workforce Committee. He vice-chaired the legislature's Joint Committee on College Affordability and co-chaired the Ohio Tuition Trust Authority. We are incredibly blessed to have him as a chancellor in the state of Ohio. One of the things that I love about Chancellor Duffy, like the lieutenant governor, he is constantly thinking future forward. He's always got new ideas. He's always wants to try new things. So thank you, Chancellor, and please join me on the stage.
Good morning. I'm going to sound a little bit like Tom Waits because I've been sick for about a week, but Robitussin's powering through, so. It's a privilege to be with you at Ohio's premier gathering of education, businesses, government leaders, all of us united in our passion for workforce. I want to thank Ohio Excels, I want to thank Beju, I want to thank the Governor's Office of Workforce Transformation as well for co-hosting this and for everyone's commitment to this shared goal. The American dream is central to everything we do. It's what motivates us to push ourselves and our communities forward. I've been listening to Tyler Childers a lot lately. I don't know if you know this artist. He's folk, bluegrass. He had a father that worked in Ohio in coal mines. And he captures this spirit and knows the grindstone. He talks about his father working in the coal mines and longing for his son to make something of himself. He talks about how hard it can be working to lift yourself up. At its core, that song, and most songs that we hear, and most stories, and most movies, books, are really about the American dream. And today I want to talk to you about just that. From the state's perspective, our role in the American dream is simple but powerful. We must create opportunities for every Ohioan to live up to their God-given potential. This is how the governor's described it in the State of the State, and it is a touchstone for each of us as directors. We cannot make people successful, but we can help them by building pathways. And when the path is clear, many will walk that path and seize the opportunity. Take the science of reading. This isn't just a policy, it is a lifeline. It is hard to advance in life if you can't read. It's even tougher to get promoted, and it's nearly impossible to thrive. We can create opportunity for every Ohioan to read. When it comes to leverage, one of the most effective tools that we have in state government is results-based budgeting. We don't tell you how to get to the goal, but we focus on the goal. And we've applied this in higher education to our universities and public colleges across the state. A decade ago, Ohio became the national leader in performance-based funding for higher education. We shifted 100% of our state funding for instruction away from enrollment, funding students just being on campuses, and tied it to real outcomes like graduation and course completion. And graduation rates have increased as a result. That was and is an achievement for Ohio, but here's the question we should be asking ourselves. Are we buying all the results that we actually want? Sure, more people are graduating, but are we delivering on economic mobility? With the right data, we can answer that question. At this conference, I challenge you to consider the broader state strategic mindset. There are two key yardsticks I offer. First, the individual. The student or worker wants one thing, upward mobility. And the state. Ohio needs talent to compete and win, nationally and globally. These interests align perfectly. The more we invest in growing our talent, the more everyone benefits. And that is the essence of what I call Ohio's campaign for talent. But we have work to do. We need more engineers, we need more skilled professionals, and more students prepared for the jobs of tomorrow. And we need something to measure. Can you guess what this might be? Anyone want to yell out? What do we need to measure in higher education that we don't measure today? Workforce. Actual wages from actual Ohioans. The data is available today, and it tells us if our education system is delivering on economic mobility. I can tell you one broad category of education that is delivering. Does anybody want to guess what this is? STEM. Over the next 10 years, STEM jobs will grow at 3 times the rate of non-STEM at nearly twice the pay. That reminds me of a 1980s ad that I grew up with for Jolt Cola. All the sugar and twice the caffeine was the slogan on the ads. And that's some Gen X nostalgia for you. For the millennials, this is Red Bull now. But STEM isn't just the Red Bull of education, baby. It's not just about following the money. It is also about national security and global competition. Last year, China overtook the United States in research published in top science journals and is now producing more STEM PhDs than we are. This isn't just an academic challenge. It is fundamental to our future in defense, cybersecurity, and American innovation. And this is why the National Academies, the most prestigious body in science in the United States, just earlier this year declared challenge number 1 being build the domestic scientific workforce of the future. Because our number 1 vulnerability is dependence on foreign talent. On a related note, we need more women in STEM. The numbers are shockingly low, and the facts are clear. Our girls and young women must be a bigger part of this conversation if we are going to be serious about talent development in the state of Ohio. And we also need to broaden our geographic reach. We need to include communities in Appalachia as well. If you have never seen it, I want to call out State Senator Shane Wilkins' strong support for the Code Scholars Program at Southern State Community College in Hillsboro, Ohio. You will walk away impressed if you just check that out. I'll wrap up by saying this. Right now, Ohio is the heart of it all, as the Lieutenant Governor said. And we're in a great position to succeed because of the work of Governor DeWine and because of the work of the Lieutenant Governor, who understand the importance of educational opportunity, STEM education, and results-based budgeting. I hope that I've given you a framework for analysis about thinking about how we can evolve and what we determine to be results-based budgeting for higher education in the state of Ohio. But I think also how we think about the total talent pipeline, the funnel that includes K-12, and my great partner, Steve Dakin. I'm now thrilled to introduce this partner, someone who is as impatient for change as I am, our Director of Education and Workforce, Steve Dakin.
Something I did, or? Oh, okay, great. Thank you so much. Thank you, Chancellor, for those kind words, and good morning to everybody. The LG had to do this, so now, come on. Good morning. Thank you, thank you. Lisa, for God's sakes, could you do something with that picture? I mean, could you dye the hair a little bit? Could you just make it? Okay, I guess it is what it is, I suppose. I'm really delighted to be here, and the previous speakers, you know, the old adage is that they save the best for last. Well, that doesn't apply today. So I go ahead and offer you up that piece of wisdom. I do want to thank Baiju and Lieutenant Governor and the Chancellor. They conveniently stole all my talking points. So I'm left up here rambling. And no, I won't ramble. I told Lisa I have a script and I have to stick to it because I love I love to go off script a lot, but there's a couple things I do want to say. One is thank you for being here today. That shows a commitment to all the things that have already been said this morning about being a lifelong learner, a commitment to young people, commitment to their families, commitment to your larger community. And so I just want to take that opportunity to thank you. Also, I want to recognize our staff. I'm blessed to have a lot of talented folks here. If you're from the department, if you just stand, please, real quick, just real quick. Okay, thank you. Thank you. So in the new governance structure, they added the word workforce to Ohio Department of Education. And I'm delighted that we have our new Deputy Director, Jeremy Varner. Jeremy is the Deputy Director of Career Tech and Workforce. He's been on the job 4 months, and I keep asking him, why don't I have a plan yet? But he's working on it. He's working on it. But our mission is really pretty simple, but it's powerful. Our job is to provide Ohioans with the tools and the skills that they need to thrive in a rapidly changing world. We heard all about that this morning, the pace of change. And so our responsibility is to get them started on that path that we heard a great deal today. If you look at your agenda today, it is packed with some high, powerful opportunities to learn. And I will tell you that if you look at that agenda and think about what's on that agenda, that is a glimpse into the future of where we're going as a state. And so I'm delighted you're going to have that opportunity to do this. Part of my remarks today are going to center on a couple things. One is there's a lot of good things happening in Ohio in the K-12 space. I call them random acts of improvement because they're not scaled. Not every child who lives in a particular zip code has the opportunity that other children have in other zip codes. And so our job isn't done until we can correct that phenomena. So we need to expand, and the Lieutenant Governor said it very well. It is about partnerships. I know as a superintendent, I always had a partnership first approach to things. I know I couldn't deliver all the things that I wanted to deliver to my young people, but I could if I joined arms with others and bring the assets of a given community to bear on the benefit the young people and their parents in the community. And so I would encourage you, if nothing else, you take away from what I said today, partnership first. The only way we're going to get scale, the only way we're going to do it so that every child has that opportunity. So a lot of the conversation today was about why. Why do we need to think differently? And you heard all the data, you heard all those kinds of things. I'm going to talk a little bit about kind of the how. And this is not a prescription. This is not a blueprint, because that's not how we roll in Ohio. We are a home rule state, and it's up to each one of us in our respective communities to get this done. And so we're not going to come out with a blueprint that says, here's how you do it, but we're going to frame the problem and allow you all to figure out the solutions. Because I think I always appreciated that as a superintendent, and I know that you all would too. Certainly at the core of our work, and Chancellor Duffy already mentioned this, but the science of reading. This governor went all in. He put a stake in the ground around all things literacy, all things the science of reading. And we are now in the process. The state made a $171 million investment into ensuring that all kids can read at or above grade level as they matriculate through the K-12 system. Okay, clap for that. Yes. And you're going to be very disappointed, Lisa, because I forgot to put my timer on. So you're going to have to go, okay? I know that you are. And so the thing about literacy, it is the foundation of everything we do. So a child who cannot read or cannot read well is forever disadvantaged in life. And that is our responsibility. We have a moral imperative as adults to make sure that doesn't happen in this state. Imagine the state if we led the country in literacy. Imagine the economic mobility for young people. Imagine the economic prosperity for their families. Imagine the economic prosperity for their communities in our state. But So the governor put a stake in the ground around literacy, and I would argue that it's no longer just an academic goal, it's what I already said. It's an economic imperative for us to make sure that that happens. Now, as we prepare for students, we also must think about their overall well-being. If COVID taught us anything, it created a higher percentage of kids who are more vulnerable now than they ever have been in previous generations. And that's why this governor has prioritized student wellness and success funding in every budget, and why he advocates for the expansion of school-based health clinics. He also has established a vision strike force to ensure that young people who need glasses receive them. When students and their families have the support they need, their chances of success increase. It's simple as that. And so the lieutenant governor talked about AI. And I think it's one of the most significant challenges that we're facing today. AI is here. It's not some future thing. It's not a George Orwell 1984 thing anymore. I just dated myself, didn't I? Yes, I read that in high school. Thank you very much. You can do the math. The transformation has significant implications for business. It has significant implications for workforce and education at every level. A recent national poll of business leaders found that 82% believe their employees will need new skills to adapt to the growth of AI. 82%. We understand the importance of preparing students for this AI-driven future. That's why Innovate Ohio, under Lieutenant Governor Husta's leadership, spearheaded efforts by creating an AI toolkit, a resource for policymakers, teachers, parents to foster AI readiness in Ohio schools. I encourage you to take a look at the toolkit if you haven't already done so. AI also presents an opportunity to address one of our state's current workforce challenges, and it was mentioned today. The Lieutenant Governor said that the notion that we have a shrinking workforce, where there's more people between the ages of 55 and 64 than there are from 15 to 24, so it's a shrinking K-12 demographic, and maybe the baby boomers are aging out, except this baby boomer. So, but I want to consider these facts. Ohio is third in the nation for the number of manufacturing jobs with more than 687,000. Ohio is first for glass, plastics, and rubber products manufacturing employment. From 2020 to 2024, over 94,000 jobs were created in Ohio. 90 occupations on Ohio's top jobs list are STEM related. The Chancellor talked a lot about STEM. We need more STEM in Ohio. The Burning Glass Institute analyzed recent national job postings and found that 25% of all job postings in the country right now require some form of data science. And I often ask school administrators, how many are you offering data science? Not many. Not many. And yet that's 25% of the job postings now, and my guess is it's probably going to go up. So there's this growing gap we have between the skills of our workforce needs and availability of qualified workers. For example, in Ohio, each year, 69% of students who enter high school, they enter as a cohort of about 136,000 each year, do not go on to earn a 2 or 4 year degree. I'm going to say it again. 69% of kids who enter high school never get a 2 or 4 year degree. So how are we preparing them for the life they're going to encounter? So this is why I believe, and this is why the Lieutenant Governor talked a lot about this, and that is I believe that career technical education is a vital part of the answer. It's not the only answer. There's a whole lot of answers here, but it is a vital part of the answer. In the most recent state budget, $200 million was allocated to expand CTE facilities so there wouldn't be wait lists, and $100 million was set aside for equipment grants for CTE programs. 58% of those grants went out to traditional school districts. Traditional school districts. So these are significant first steps, but we have to do more. For example, we need to bring CTE to students. The Lieutenant Governor said that. I know Jeremy Varner's working with our CTE leadership and district partners to make that happen in our state because it's a necessity. It's not a nice to have. It's a necessity. Additionally, the governor has called for every student to be on a clear pathway to something throughout high school. We need doctors, as the chancellor talked about. We need people to go to college. We need people to become professionals. We need doctors. We need data scientists. We need engineers, but we also need electricians, plumbers, technicians, healthcare assistants, etc. We need both. This is not an either or. We need both. The governor has also called for the legislature to require career planning for every student. Career planning for every student. Regardless of their path, we must ensure that the student has an authentic and robust career plan. We need to capture our kids' imaginations. We have not done that well across the state. We capture their imaginations, and then we have to understand that both their heart and their minds, and then give them the opportunity. The worst question I asked of kids when I was a high school principal is, what do you want to do after high school? They don't have a clue, for the most part. We don't give them the information related to what are good jobs in your community, what are good jobs in the state, what is the definition of a good job, what are benefits of a job, what's a good salary for a job, a good job. They're void of that information largely. And we don't give them to their parents either, because mom and dad often know what they knew. For example, manufacturing is not a toolkit, it's a laptop. It's very different now. And so we have to, in that career planning process, we have to figure out how to make that happen for every kid. And it has to be authentic. They have to have experiences. They don't know what they don't know. And so part of the system has to recalibrate to make sure that we can get these things to our young people and their parents. So these are pretty complex challenges, but they're not insurmountable. Our education system from pre-K through graduate programs and workforce certification is multifaceted, but we can overcome these challenges by working together and go back to that theme of partnership first. We all have a role in ensuring that Ohio's workforce remains agile and prepared for future opportunities by equipping students with foundational skills like literacy and advanced competencies like AI and STEM fluency. We can ensure that Ohio continues to lead on the global stage and our people are ready to lead productive, fulfilling lives. I really do want to thank Ohio Excels, and I want to thank the Governor's Office of Workforce Transformation. I want to thank my colleague, Chancellor Duffy. We work closely together, and I feel sorry for him for that. But these organizations have been leaders in this space. And this convening is an example of their footprint. And we consider them invaluable partners at the Department of Education and Workforce. So let's work together to equip our students with the skills they need to succeed in an ever-changing world. Your partnership is essential in making this vision a reality, and together we can assure Ohio's future shines bright. Thank you and enjoy the rest of your day.